With Valve dropping what is possibly the biggest update of the year, it brings a lot of questions when it comes to investing. The first of which is the 3 brand new collections. Now obviously nothing's guaranteed at this point, however we've seen 3 brand new logos, and the most interesting part about this is if we want to look at the past 3 operations, we got 3 brand new collections with those. 4 with Riptide, a little bit of a different story, but still, the other thing is one of these is currently in the active dropping collections. That's the Italy. If we want to look, Italy got a brand new logo, but Italy is also a 10-year-old collection, meaning is everything going to get reworked for those active collections?
SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free bonus for signing up with the first link in the description. They're the premier place for CSGO and Rust skins, with a massive trading site and a top-of-the-line marketplace, offering you the most competitive rates out there and a massive 40% bonus when you're using that link in the description. Combine that with their top-of-the-line selling feature with many payout options, and their trading feature legitimately taking you just about a minute, and there's no reason not to sign up with that first link in the description.
Now this is such an interesting area because obviously no one knows exactly what's going to happen. However, we can put ourselves in the best situation possible, and in my opinion, I would say if you are going to pick up some trade up fillers, now might be the time to hop into those. That's because we've mentioned time and time again over the past couple of weeks that if we see brand new collections, they are guaranteed going to be very, very bad for trade ups. That's because we can look at the brand new releasing ones right now. We can look at the Anubis, see that they've got multiple pinks, multiple purples, and there's zero trade up potential that comes with that when it comes for a filler skin. The other thing is if we want to look at the past operations, we can also see that those cause trade up fillers to increase in price quite significantly as well. In my opinion, if you think there's going to be some brand new added collections in the near future, trade up fillers are probably not a bad option for you to at least start thinking about, just because they're so versatile, and relatively speaking, they're at a little bit of a lower point, and it's probably not going to be a terrible idea to start looking into this area if you have not already. Next up on the list has to be Paris. Paris is still in the shop, which is a really bad thing for Paris investors. Now if we want to look at the length, Paris is currently the #1 longest sale in the entire history of CSGO, and it might even be carrying over into CS2, which is just an absolutely mind-boggling thing to think about, the fact that Paris is going to be in the shop for this long. Now if we want to sit here and look at the hollows are still sitting at a relatively consistent price, which is obviously really weird, but the fact is this could be very beneficial if we do see Paris removed relatively soon. We can look at what happened previously with all of the stickers when CS2 came out, and obviously that is definitely priced into the Paris hollows and so on and so forth, but the truth is if we do see Paris removed in a relatively short time period here, I think there's going to be a very beneficial future on the horizon for it. Now with that being said, we're probably going to get Valve saying there's a 5-day limit, or they're going to be removing them in 5-day or something like that, just because they do want to suck up as much money as they can, but I don't think Valve is going to have them carry over into CS2 too long unless we see a very slow rollout like we've seen already continued into the future, where people are slowly getting access to the game. If we have a hard launch for the game, I don't think, in my opinion, it would be super smart to bring Paris along with that, just because that's such old content and you have a very strong possibility to monetize some brand new content when that happens. Now you might be asking yourself, what incentive does Valve have to go ahead and remove Paris and replace it with some different content? And that's actually due to Paris itself. If we want to look at the capsule, we can see that 50% of the proceeds don't even go to Valve, which is extremely different than anything else inside of CSGO. Major items are the only ones that are actually split with the teams. If we want to look at case keys and we want to look at operations, all of that money goes directly to Valve. Now obviously they do pay out some to skin creators and stuff like that, but the truth is all of that revenue is coming into Valve, whereas if we want to look at the major capsules, that's just not the case, and therefore in my opinion, I think it's a very strong possibility that Valve does look at that and see all the brand new players that are potentially going to flock in and think, how can we monetize this and how can we keep all of that money as well? Now if we want to focus in on the current market has not seen prices absolutely balloon. You can look at a lot of the cases right here, they're still sitting at a relatively similar price point to what they were at before we saw the open beta announced, but in my opinion, that's actually a good thing. If we want to look back, we can see that prices absolutely went crazy when we saw the announcement of CS2, and the thing is that happened with pretty much every item inside of the game because people were so hyped up about it. Obviously, we saw massive drop-offs because of that, and this time around, people are a little bit more cautious, but also people realize that a lot of these items are not going to be just instantly gone like that. There's actually a lot more hesitancy this time than I've never seen before, just because people are so nervous about what Valve might potentially do, if they're going to release an operation, or if everyone's going to just sell off their items and the market is going to decrease because of that. Now, in my honest opinion, you're going to have to take a lot of items and try and sell them off instantly in order to crash the CSGO market. I just don't think that's really plausible at this time. We might see some slight decreases, but an overall crash doesn't really seem like something, at least in my opinion, in the near future. Now, earlier we talked about the brand new collections, potentially 3 of them. However, we didn't talk about the souvenir package and the potential for a huge investment because of this. We can look at the Dust 2 souvenir packages and see that when a souvenir package does get removed from the game, they do become very profitable very quickly. However, I want to warn you that the Overpass and the Inferno souvenir packages are nowhere near what we saw with the Dust 2. Obviously, these two right here don't have any covert items inside of them, which already hurt them, but the fact is they're also really old, which means people have been able to get these skins for quite a while. Combine that with the fact that the Inferno is already at a disadvantage because it's an actively dropping collection, and in my opinion, I don't think the long-term potential of investing into these is quite there. However, once again, there is the potential, in my opinion, to probably make some profit off of that, and that's because of the hype around it. If we want to look at the Berlin 2019 Vertigo package, this was one that was in the game and that it was removed, and therefore that made it very exclusive. And if we want to look at it, we can see that it peaked up very high and immediately fell off. I predict that's probably a very similar trend to what we're going to see here with the Overpass and the Inferno packages. We're going to see some people try and flock in and invest into these because they saw what happened with the Dust 2 souvenir package and think the exact same thing is going to happen once again, when obviously we who watch this channel know that it's very unlikely to be the exact same way. Now, the last area I think is going to be the most beneficial, and that's rare cases. If we want to look at rare cases right now, the price, as we mentioned before, is not really moving very significantly, and that's a really good thing if you're looking to invest. A lot of people right now are hesitant that potentially an operation or a very large update that comes along with the release of CS2 is going to play a major downfall into a lot of these cases. But in my opinion, when we look at the long term of these cases, they're in a very prime position. That's because if we want to look at unboxing numbers, they have consistently held about 1 million cases unboxed per day over the past couple of months when the hype is not in this area. Combine that with the fact that obviously CS2 is going to be able to open up cases inside of it, and I think that's just even more fuel to the fire for this already very intense area. We can talk about everything cases, and in my opinion, not only is it a very safe option, but it's also a really strong option. A lot of these cases tend to hit very strongly by the hype that comes along with that, and that could make it a very easy exit position if you do want that to happen. We can look at what happened when CS2 released, and we saw almost a 700% increase for some cases just because of how strong this area was, and I don't expect that to be the exact same this time, but I also don't expect there to be zero growth in this area. People are going to return to cases because, let's be honest, that's a big portion of this game, and especially for content creators around that, they like to go ahead and participate in that thing, and that's going to be a very strong influence into this area, and I don't see that decreasing anywhere in the future. In fact, I see that increasing quite significantly from the current moment. Now, last thing is, if you're still looking to invest into Paris, the average is probably not going to decrease any longer. We saw the average before at 0.2494, now it's at 0.2532, and it's probably not going to get any cheaper. But that's all I got. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. It'll be a great rest of your day.